Hey, shout out, folks. It's Bob the Old Rucker, and thanks for listening to Shout Out from the Pit. Just a few notes before we launch into our show. First, keep sending that feedback. It doesn't just stroke my tiny ego, but it reminds us that we're doing some good and keeps us on track. We are thick-skinned and open-minded, so your suggestions matter. We really want this show to do what it's supposed to do, and if you feel it's doing that, keep let us know. And if you feel it's not, let us know that too, please. All right. So, as a reminder, we're always looking for folks to share their experience, strength, and hope. If you've overcome something and have a toolbox that can provide others with hope to overcome their challenges, let us know. Check out shoutoutfromthepit.com and briefly share your story under our contact tab. Redbeard or I will reach out to you for a chat and talk about doing a show. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with a friend because, as always, it's for free and for fun. Okay, here's what to expect from this show. Brother Mark isn't new to the tribe, but he is new to the show. We were finally able to get him to share his experience, strength, and hope, not only overcoming alcohol addiction, but a very rare disease that I'd never heard of before I met Mark. If by chance you have encountered transverse myelitis, I hope I'm saying that right, and want to chat with Mark, just hit us up on the website, shoutoutfromthepit.com, and we'll get you guys in touch. All right, enough of me. And now, on with the show. All right. Hey, shout out, folks. It's Bob the Old Rucker coming at you raw and uncensored. And as always, only God knows what's going to happen on this show. So welcome to Shout Out from the Pit, where the host sucks, but the guests are awesome. I'm the host, and Redbeard, the nerd in the basement, as he says, is my partner and producer. Our goal is to bring stories and topics designed to add to your toolbox as you trudge the road to happy destiny. All right, so joining us today are some old voices you've heard before. I'm going to let them introduce themselves before I actually introduce another member of our show tonight. So let's just go this way and you just give a shout. Tell them who you are and give a shout.
Shout out, everybody. It's Sloan.
Sloan!
Hello, Sloan. I'm Ralph.
Ralph!
Hey, Ralph. I'm Mark.
Mark.
Hello.
Mark.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dwight.
Dwight!
Hey, Dwight.
And I'm the Old Rucker. Okay, so Mark has not been on a show with us before, which was funny because I thought you'd had until we talked recently. And so he's not new to, he's new to the show, but he is not new to the tribe, as you hear us refer to quite often. And as always, guys, I appreciate y'all taking time out to come, hang, and just have a good time and eat dinner and do all the zany things that we normally do all the time. All right, so I got an icebreaker. And before we get started, this one's a little bit different than my normal alcohol-related, anecdotals. This one is 9 rude habits you don't realize you're doing every day. Now, there's got to be a lot more than just 9 rude habits, all right? So what I want to do is see if you guys can just randomly guess what any of those 9 are, and I'll cross them off as we go. All right, so just jump in. Give me a rude habit.
Interrupting.
That's actually not on here, but that is a great one.
Picking your nose in public.
Another great one, but it's not on here.
Rolling your eyes when somebody's talking to you.
Oh, my God. We should have written these. Because that's a good one, too, but it's not on this list.
Sloan?
Oh. Not brushing your teeth before a podcast.
Oh, that should definitely be on this list, but it's not.
Okay.
I was told that saying FYI was rude.
Well, I would disagree with that. I mean, BTW, I've never heard that before.
Okay, Bob, you're going to have to give us a hint.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Okay.
Skipping introductions. So it's like, you walk into a crowd with a buddy, your buddy's carrying on with all these people, and you're staring like a lump because nobody is taking the time to go, hey, this is my pal or whatever. So you just kind of stand there looking stupid.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I'll buy that one.
Okay. Now, here's another one. And Mark, you are absolutely not guilty of this one. So saith my wife. Showing up to a house empty-handed. meaning when you come for a get-together, not bringing a gift for the house. Now, as you guys know, we don't want any stuff. But, Mark, every time you come to one of the engagements, you always give my wife a gift, and she knows this. Maybe it's something that sticks with the ladies and not the guys. I don't know. All right. When you're in public and somebody's got their cell phone, but they're using the speakerphone to talk to them.
Yeah. I hate that.
That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
You know what it's similar to is back in the old days. Remember the boombox days? Mm-hmm. You know, you couldn't carry a conversation with somebody because it's just like last night when we were at dinner, that guy on the street there with his car, he knew his car was obnoxiously loud.
Yes.
You know, it's just rude. That kind of stuff is rude. So, all right, this one I don't think should be on the list because I think it's rather funny. Texting while walking.
Can be, they could fall off the curb.
I love it. No, for me, that's free entertainment. I'm down with that. All right, this one does bother me. You guys have all seen it. Checking your phone while driving.
Yes.
It's bad. We don't even have to expound on that. All right, here's one. Forgetting our manners, like please, thank you, addressing, authorities or seniors as Mr., Mrs., whatever. Just not using, common courtesies. Using your cell phone while you're ordering. And I think that can also apply at a checkout line, right? Somebody in front of you, we're waiting for them to get done, but they're too busy on their phone. All right. I'm surprised that you guys didn't get any of these. This one I'm not so sure I agree with, but not tipping enough.
All depends on the service.
I agree.
Even then, I usually do tip.
And the last one, which I was surprised was on here, but I do agree with, wearing too much perfume or cologne.
Yep. I was in the doctor's office yesterday, and a guy came in the elevator. Boy, that woman was wearing heavy perfume. It can take your breath away sometimes. But I tell you one that's not on there that I think should have been.
Okay.
Being late.
Yes. Yeah.
Being very inconsiderate of everybody else's time.
You are. Yes, when that happens.
All right.
And another one that was on there, we kind of touched on it, but using your cell phone and texting I've seen people doing it during AA meetings.
Oh.
I've seen people doing it in church.
Yeah.
I think when you're having it something, when there's a person there that you should be paying attention to, which is an AA meeting, the speaker, church, the pastor, I think that it's rude to be on your cell phone texting. I just don't. Something about that rubs me the wrong way. I don't know why.
You got to be careful because sometimes people are looking something up and they got Bible or whatever in their phone.
That's exactly what happened to me. And I don't know, Dwight, if it was you or Sloan, if it was you, we were in church and the pastor kind of called me out. He did it with love afterwards. And he said, yeah, I saw you on your phone. I was like, Pastor, I was confirming that stuff that you were talking about. Make sure that you weren't being a false prophet. So Pastor G, if you're listening to this, I love you. Or I still wouldn't be going to church there. So, but yeah, I do. And in the meetings, we have all those apps that we can pull up all the literature on. So if the chairperson says, hey, I'm going to read from, literature, chapter, verse, I don't have to carry all my books with me because it's right on the phone. But to be clear, I know what you mean when you say that people are texting. I sat right next to people that are engaging conversations. I'm like, that's kind of wrong.
Yeah, but they're usually not on Facebook either.
Right.
Those books and stuff.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Now that we've sufficiently bored the audience so far, we're going to move along. Mark, this show tonight is really, about you. You shared your story recently, and I think all of us know everybody in the tribe. We know little bits here and there about the tribe, but you shared some stuff that we just didn't know. And one thing that I do know, like some of the people that we've had on the show and people that we know, you're at least a 2-time miracle. The first one that you got sober, and then the other one, something we're going to talk about later on in the show. So before we get there, I think it's just good business here, man. Tell us who you are today. I mean, just who is Mark today, and give us some a Reader's Digest version, maybe a little insight, so the audience has an idea who you are.
Today I'm just a guy that's good. I don't, want to be happy. I don't want to be overly happy. I don't want to be on cloud nine all the time. I just want to be okay. And I want to be happy with that. I love my life today. I don't know. My life's really good. I don't know.
You must speak into the
Any
microphone.
drama in it?
Yeah, talk in the microphone.
I am, aren't I?
No, you were looking away.
Oh.
So, I mean, so Mark, there's a couple things that I do know about you and that you're not sharing with us. One is you have a dog.
Yes.
Well, tell us about your dog.
I got my dog, Charlotte, when my divorce was going on and we lost her dog. I lost the family dog. And I went and got Charlotte, and she's been great. I think she's 8 years old now, 12 pounds, Chiweenie.
Oh,
she's a great dog. Love that dog.
Did she help you remodel that fantastic kitchen you have there?
No, she didn't.
I didn't see her in any of the pictures. I didn't know if you had scooted her along, but you just went through a major remodel, did a lot of work in your backyard. You've got hummingbirds. I mean, I know more about you than you know about yourself, right? And you there's something that one of your favorite things to do is
fish. Get on the water and fish. Mainly be on the water. I love being on the water. Like to be on the boat. It's just a serenity thing with me. When I'm out on the water, life is different. It's good. You don't think about the problems that are on land.
Well, I think one of the things I enjoy seeing is when you send us those clips where you use your drone. And, I mean, we went on a boat with you one time. That was, it was kind of funny because first of all, you're capturing all this stuff that's out in the wild and it's just bizarre how well you pilot that thing. But the funny thing about that particular trip, he had that drone set on, you can't touch it. So, so it wouldn't bounce into a wall or a tree or something. So when he had it come back, he couldn't get it. You had to trick it.
Yeah. It's got accident avoidance, crash avoidance. It's got sensors that'll stop it if it gets too close to something. And that's what was happening when it would get close to me to touch it and pull it in, it would stop and I couldn't get to it. So on the remote, you have to turn that off.
Yeah. There were like 5 or 6 of us on the boat and we didn't know what to do. So we just watched you try to, snatch it out of the air. Yeah. Okay. All right. So any questions for Mark, guys?
Ralph, I don't want you to ask questions. You know enough
come
already.
on now.
You don't need to ask questions.
No, I do want to say something. I've known Mark, 3 years now, something like that, 4? Mm-hmm. And he has grown a lot in the last 4 years. He went through a tough period in his life, and he has done a 180. He's had a different outlook on life, and it's amazing to see somebody grow like that. And very grateful to be a part of that, and get to see it, because that's the miracle, is seeing somebody grow and get over obstacles, hard times and stuff, and to have a reasonably happy life. And Mark has a reasonably happy life now. Mm-hmm. He does things for others. He doesn't think of himself as much as he used to. Still thinks of himself, but not as much, Mm-hmm. I'd say probably 50-50 now. But he's a good man, and he's a good member of society today. And he's a positive member of society, which there were times in his life he wasn't so positive. Not that he was ever really terrible, but we all go through them. We just are, a lot of us, we just go through those tough times when we're so self-absorbed and all we can think about is ourselves. And Mark is always thinking of others. Don't ask him what he's thinking, but he's always thinking of others.
Thank you, Ralph.
Yeah, I'll second that. I think Mark's a great dude. We've become very close as we walk through this journey of sobriety. And Mark calls me just about every day, and he got me thinking about that tool, one alcoholic calling another. And it's pretty nice to have that. And man, I don't know. We've had some good times outside the program, just doing fun stuff. And that's what it's all about. I think for me, I don't know if I could stay sober if I didn't have things like that. I mean, you've got to replace all that stuff with something. And when you have good friends and you can go out, like the tribe went out last night, we all went to dinner and just had a good old time. And that's so important to me, having friends in this program, and Mark is a good one. So I'm going to let Mark tell some more of his story here.
Dwight, Mark wants you to say something nice about him.
I've been knowing Mark for several years now, and I've been around him several times. He's always good natured. He's a real sports lover. He's not as big maybe not as big a baller as Pat is, but he's a serious baller, just like other guys in this program. So we get together and over at one of our favorite guys over at Ralph's house and watch the games and eat and have a fellowship with one another and joke around and bullshit around with one another. And so Mark's always a very integral part of that. He likes to put on his bling and show up in all his hog bling. So he's one of us. He's one of the tribe, no doubt. Thank you, Dwight.
Well, I would tell you, Mark, that I don't remember when I met you or how long I've known you. I mean, just as long as some of the guys in here. But you've always got a smile. You always got a positive attitude, and you make us laugh with your, like you said, Dwight, your bling. I think that's just some funny stuff. I mean, you bring a little life to the party. So now that we know who you are today, let's go backwards and find out how you got where you're at today. So take us back to your youth. Feel free to just open mic and what was it like growing up, man?
Well, grew up or born in a hospital in Little Rock, but I'm from Shannon Hills, Arkansas, Saline County. And my dad worked for the power company, and my mom was a housewife. And I didn't think my childhood was all that great growing up, but looking back at it now, I had an outstanding childhood. I had everything I wanted, or needed, rather. And it was really good. Things are different today. Kids are on their cell phones and video games and things like that. And when we were growing up, we were happy being out on bicycles or, walking, anything, but we wouldn't stay in the house. Mom wouldn't let us stay in the house during the day, but we got out and did things, and it's different today, I think, with the kids. I like to fish. I, grew up that with my dad doing fishing, going fishing a lot. My brothers, I had two brothers, and it was just a normal childhood, I'd say, overall.
Thank you, Mark. Something, we went on a road trip a while back to Omaha. Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell them about why you went to that road trip on Omaha? Just because that's that's something he does, thinking about others,
Pat is a big baller, like Dwight said, and we all love our sports, but some more than others, I'd say. But Pat and Dwight were going to go to Omaha to watch the Razorbacks play in the College World Series, and Pat had made a previous commitment, and being a man of his word, he stuck to his commitment. I was impressed with that, very impressed with it, and he'd already bought it. I understand he'd already bought a ticket and everything, right? So he sacrificed all that to do what he was supposed to do. And so that left Ralph going to Omaha by himself. And I've ridden with Ralph a lot, and he can't drive very good. So I didn't trust him to go all the way up there by himself. So I went with him, and I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. But no, seriously, I just felt like Ralph's done a lot for me. He's done a lot for all of us. We know that, but I didn't feel good about him going up by himself. I didn't think that'd be much fun.
It wouldn't have been.
So I went, and I'm glad I did. I loved it. We had a good time, very good time, and I'd like to go back.
Yeah, see, that's a change in Mark. 4 years ago, I don't think he would have done anything like that. But he's growing, and he sacrificed himself for somebody else, and that's what happens in these rooms. We do things for other people. That's pretty impressive when you get that kind of change in your life. And, there's a lot of things Mark's done changing his life, doing things differently, learning how to live life differently, living life on life's terms, and we can be reasonably happy even though things aren't going exactly how we think they ought to be going. Mark's had some difficulties in his life that he's gotten through. He's walked through them and stayed sober through them. And doing the things we're supposed to do. And that's what is really impressive, all the changes that he's had in his life. And usually talk about that stuff that much, but it's something that has to be talked about because that's the whole purpose of this thing is to get a change in our life. And it's Mark's been amazing about it. You can talk about going to your first meetings and stuff and starting to do things differently, how some of the simple stuff and struggled at times.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
that make a difference. We keep doing it till we get it, and eventually we'll get it. But,
yeah, Mark, you shared some things with us, and I think we see it just in your personality, as your ethic. You've got a very strong work ethic, and I think that goes. I don't know where you got that from. Maybe you could share that with us, or just tell us about. Like I remember you said something about when you were in school. You liked money, and you liked to earn it. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to tell us the name of the corporation that you ended up becoming part of, but give us an idea about what kind of kid you were there, and then I'd like to hear, because I know there was a transition in there when you shared with us earlier how you got introduced to beer but still maintained a work ethic. So give us some insight on that.
Well, as far as the beer goes, my dad drank beer, and it was a hot day in our backyard, very hot, and Dad was doing some work in the backyard, and I got a beer for him out of the refrigerator, and that day he decided to let me have the first sip of it. I didn't mention this the other night. There's a lot of stuff I didn't mention when you're sharing. You ramble on, and when I got home that night, I was like, gosh, I can't believe I left that out or this out or what. That's just the way it is. But where was I?
Beer in your backyard.
So thank you. So he gave me the beer, the drink, and I loved it. It was great because my dad gave it to me. That was what was the cool part. Not the beer. The beer wasn't good at all, but I still wanted that first drink out of it every time. And I didn't mention this the other night, but it almost sounds maybe that I blame my dad for that, but I don't. It's not his fault that I drink the way I do. It's just the way it is. We all know that, but he I'm sure that if he saw what would happen to me, he would never have done that, but that's just the way it was at that time. So, but growing up, I had two older brothers, and we kind of followed each other. The oldest brother did this first, and then the middle brother did this, and then I did it. I was a few years behind. And so, we when you're a kid, you sit on Saturday mornings, you'll watch cartoons or something for a little while, and Dad was off the weekend. So he didn't like that. He didn't like us sitting around too long. So, he would do things like, for me, he would take me to his friend's house, and I would cut their grass, for $20. He kept me busy. He didn't want me sitting around, and he bought as we got older, he bought a snow cone stand. So we wouldn't sit around in the summertime. My brothers all ran it, and I was the last one to run it. I did learn a lot doing that. But he just liked to instill that in us, and I liked working. My options were school and work, and I did not like school at all. So I loved to work. I'd rather work and make my own money and buy the things that I want to buy, instead of relying on mom and dad to do it or whatever. But it wasn't. I didn't really. I worked in retail, and both in high school and in my career. I liked retail, loved it actually, and I guess like I said, Monday night when I was going to school, I didn't like it at all. And as I got older, towards the senior years of school, I was able to get on the work program as long as I showed them my schedule, and I could leave school early to go to work. And I just loved that. I thought it was great. I wasn't doing very well in school at all. I don't think it was benefiting anybody for me to even be there, but it is what it is, But I just like to work, and that's kind of it.
All right. So if you can now take us on that journey with this retailer, you got in at ground level, you worked your way up, you moved around a lot, I remember, right? Do you even know how many states you were in or how many times you moved?
I could figure them out, but it's a lot. I don't know offhand.
Mm-hmm.
Just you're talking about the number of states.
Yeah, just throw some out. I mean, you started off in
Arkansas, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Maine, twice. I know I'm forgetting something.
Wasn't Mississippi one of them?
Jackson, Mississippi. Thank you.
One of his favorites, man. Jackson.
Wow. Fort Smith, Arkansas. And I also did work in, I didn't move to, or relocate, but, they needed help in different places. So I'd go different cities and help out with things and come back. But been in a lot of places.
Man, I'll tell you, that experience you got from that snow cone stand, it paid off. You had to learn to budget, you had to learn logistics, supplies, dealing with customers. Did you ever get any unhappy customers in that snow cone business? You have to straighten them out?
Snow cone stand, no.
No.
No, that was the easy one.
But, I gather that, you had a work ethic, you had a desire, you got at the ground level at this major retailer and bounced all over the place, moved all the way up to being a store manager, right, for this huge, huge organization. Mm-hmm. How was alcohol in your relationship? From whenever you want to start going there and how it ended or whatever.
Well, when my first promotion to management, I left from Little Rock to Fort Smith, and that's where I started. Needing a 6-pack of beer every night to sleep because I was in a new place. I was young, a little bit afraid. But and that progressed, over time to where, a 6-pack would work. And then after not too much longer, I needed a 12-pack, and it continued to grow after that to progress my alcoholism.
Hey, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. All right, folks, thanks for allowing the over 60 dude here to take a restroom break. We are back, and our guest today is Mark F. Mark is sharing his experience, strength, and hope with us. And, when we left off, Mark, you were sharing with us about some of the, we got it that you ran a snow cone, business. You even did some lawn mowing. So you had some experience. And then, of course, you got into this retail business, and which is a pretty amazing story in itself. But we'd like to hear how, your relationship with alcohol, kind of in a sort of way might have derailed a little bit or not derailed or what. So tell us about your alcohol relationship and your career.
Well, as I said earlier, I started drinking when I moved out. I actually drank when I was at home, but we would take our dad's beer throughout the week, or me and my buddies, we would, Dad would always have beer and cigarettes, and he would drink a lot and he might pass out. And if he did, we'd go take a couple, put them in the closet throughout the week. And by the time the weekend ran around, all my buddies, we had enough beer to go out and drink and have a good time, whatever, run the streets. And so, that was fun. And again, all this stuff here, in the beginning, it's all fun and you could do it. You can get up in the morning, but over time that starts to get harder to get up, and the hangovers get worse, and then the trouble gets worse. A lot of things happen, but I drank alcohol, for a long time, mostly beer, and again, I started drinking more and more of it. I became more tolerant of it. I was able to do my job and drink a lot in the beginning, and like I said, though, over time, it starts to wear down on you, and I couldn't continue that anymore. So, eventually ended up going to rehab, and, so I went to a place called Marworth. I was working, I knew that I was an alcoholic 100%, but I didn't really know what that meant, so to speak. I knew I couldn't stop drinking, and I knew I was getting ready to lose my wife probably. And because, of my drinking, and I called my boss and said, hey, I got to go to rehab. I'm not coming in today. You may have to terminate me. I don't know, but I can't go on like this anymore. So I went to Marworth for rehab for 2 weeks, and I got sobered up there and continued that process. When I got out of rehab, I did 90 meetings in 90 days, and I hated it. The meetings in rehab were good. The meetings for me, when I got out of rehab, the AA meetings, I didn't like them because, people were laughing at things I didn't think were funny. People were having a good time. I didn't like that. I wasn't having a good time. And I just thought people were weird. But, over time, I realized, and it took a long time, that they weren't weird. Alcohol made me weird. Right. And I thought everybody else was weird. And that's what alcohol does to me. It takes over my mind and tells me one thing and makes me believe it 100% when it's not really true. And anyway, so.
How long did you stay sober then?
I stayed sober for almost 14 years. I am just shy of 14 years. My wife left me, and we got divorced. It was very painful, and during that process, I couldn't. It was just too painful for me. I tried to hold on. I was white knuckling it because I didn't have a sponsor. The whole time I was in Alcoholics Anonymous, I didn't have a sponsor. I went to meetings. Pretty religiously. I liked to go into the meetings always, but it got to the point I couldn't take the pain anymore. And I said, I gotta have a 12-pack of beer. That's just me, my story. But I went down that night, to the local store in town. I got a 12-pack, and it wasn't very much longer. I was back down there again, getting another 12-pack. And after that amount of time not drinking, you'd think that, your tolerance would be, a 6-pack will probably knock me on my butt, but it doesn't. After all that time, that's what really shocked me, was that after all that time,
how much it took.
It's, when I hear people say, well, you pick up right where you left off and all that. And it's true. It was true for me. And not only that, it was incredibly fast how much that progressed from just beer to whiskey, Jack Daniels. It's just shocking how, it took over that fast after all that time. So,
Mark, I think you make a great point about, and for the people out there listening, if you're going to some meetings and you're not sure about that, really try to get a sponsor. That is such a strong suggestion that we have, because I did the same thing. I lasted about a month. I couldn't go 14 years. But I went to some meetings and I wasn't in for all that whole sponsorship stuff. I just thought I didn't need that. And the only way I was working the steps is trying to read them on the wall during the meetings and all that mess that I think most of us have done that. And I'm telling you, you out there listening, if you're going to meetings and it's not quite feeding your soul, get a sponsor. And just find somebody that you kind of gravitate toward that's got some sobriety under their belt, and just give it a try, because you're really not getting the full AA program, I think, if you're not going to do sponsorship and let them you're just a mentor basically, and they've got enough sobriety that they can give you those tools to use. And, I don't want to break it on your show here, Mark, but when you said that, it really brought that up to me, that, and people out there that think, oh, what is that? I don't know what that is. And I don't know if I want to do that. Just like I was, I know that I was I just thought that I didn't need that part of it. And I was so wrong. And the second time I came in, I was beat up enough when they said, get a sponsor. I said, okay, whatever you say I'm going to do, because I've had enough. So yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Sloan. In rural Maine, where I really started getting into going to alcoholics meetings, people had sponsors, but there's a difference between different parts of the country and Little Rock. I've found that out. I've been to AA meetings a lot of different places, and the emphasis on sponsorship here is a lot stronger than it is in different places. I promise you that, for where I've lived anyway. I did, like I said, and that's a good point, because if I had a sponsor, I don't know, who knows what would have happened.
Right.
But if I had a sponsor, I'm sure that I would have handled myself a lot better, behaved a lot better than I did during, the divorce and all that upheaval in my life.
Mark, why do you think that, from your perspective, why do you think that people have a hard time reaching out and just asking somebody to be their sponsor?
Safety.
Why do you think that people have a hard time asking somebody to be their sponsor?
For me, I can only speak for myself. I didn't want anybody knowing my business. I was, to talk to another man about my problems didn't sound attractive to me at all. I had to get over that, but that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. I remember at one point, many years into it, I, would go to meetings all the time. It's certain meetings, and I would, go to lunch here and there with people. And I got, maybe I do need a sponsor. So I picked the guy that, that I thought was going to go easy on me. And it wasn't really a sponsor relationship. I did no work. I had a sponsor, but I never called him. He was just my sponsor. And I say that he really wasn't, but you get what I'm saying.
I do.
Right.
There's a couple of directions I think we need to include. One of them is, I can't pronounce this affliction that you found you're with, but give us the backstory, what led up to this thing that you acquired, this medical condition. Mm-hmm. Give us the backstory of how, because that I'd never heard before until recently, and it really brought it home for me, of what that affliction is. And then, earlier you had, I don't want to put the cart before the horse on this. Give us the backstory, give us the affliction and how you work through it. And then I'll talk more about that educated me.
Okay. I have a rare neurological disorder called transverse myelitis. I don't know the specific numbers. It's very low of people that get it. It's similar to, it's a cousin to multiple sclerosis is what it is. But transverse myelitis happens instantly, almost. Multiple sclerosis will progress over time. I'd never heard of it. I was working. I mentioned this the other night. My wife and I and my son went on a cruise for about a week and really tired from that. Directly off the cruise, went to Atlanta for a meeting for, I think, 4 days, and long sun up, sundown meetings, really tired, more tired and worn out than usual. I noticed that. And, on the way home from the meeting from Atlanta, I was coming back to Pennsylvania, and my head hurt. And I noticed it really hurt more when I'd move my eyes left and right. It was very painful, and it was odd feeling. It hurt a lot. But anyway, I got home. We had an optician in the building that I worked at. I went to her because it was my eyes. I thought it was my eyes, something, if there was hurting, whatever. So she took me in the room and she checked me out, and she said, "You have a bad sinus infection." She wrote me a prescription for an antibiotic. I got that filled. I went home. Now, I was in a hurry the other night. I left a lot of stuff out because, I'm looking at the clock and, it happens. But what happened was I got that antibiotic, went home, and I remember at some point having to get up and use the bathroom to pee. And just like, I could feel it. I needed to pee. I went to the bathroom. I stood over the commode and nothing happened. Nothing would come out. That was the first sign that there was something bad wrong. And I didn't get into all this the other night, but, we've got a little more time now. But so what happened was, as best I can recollect, my wife, I told her, I called her up. I said, it's just strange, it won't come out. So my wife called my doctor, and he said, "Well, he's probably got a bladder infection. Have him drink a bunch of cranberry juice, excuse me." And, a typical alcoholic, I want it fixed, so I'm going to drink a gallon of it. So I drank all this juice, and my bladder, I couldn't release it. So I kind of blacked out. My wife took me to the doctor, and they drained my bladder. And that's where we got into backing up. That night, for the pain, the doctor gave me a big tall, I don't even know what they were, big tall bottle of some kind of painkiller, some kind of something. And I took those when I got home. My wife gave them to me. And I took those, and that's when I collapsed in the floor in the living room. And I woke up in the hospital, with a doctor with that thing in my eye, and my wife and my personnel manager were at the foot of the bed with tears in their eyes. I had no idea what was going on, and there's a person sticking a needle in my foot, and I couldn't feel it. And I had no idea what was going on. So, and the doctor didn't either. So they sent me for an MRI. And when it came back, that's when they transferred me quickly to a research hospital in Danville, Pennsylvania. That's where they told me I had transverse myelitis. And I said, well, okay, when do I get out of here? When does it heal? And, you know, it may not. That's what I was told. And that scared me because I was already in there, you know, for a while, and it was getting worse. I remember the atrophy, a very short period of time, because I couldn't move. I couldn't tell my body what to do. Your muscles just deteriorate. Skin draping off my legs. It looked like it scared the hell out of me. It was scary to even look at. It was frightening to see this happen to my body. Going forward, I'm in Danville. I'm an hour from home. Got a 6-month-old baby boy, and you know, pretty newlywed, couple of years now, and my wife's having to come back and forth, and you know, an hour and to come see me and bring the boy in and all that stuff. It's wearing her out. It's just total chaos. But so I stayed in that hospital for a while, and you know, nothing was improving. I couldn't move. I couldn't tell my feet what to do. I would tell them and it just would not happen. Toes, nothing. Now my upper, from my nipples up, was 100% okay. What happens with transverse myelitis is, I'm going to go back a little bit because I think this is important, and I'm not trying to say that or get political about this or anything like that, but this is just my story. When my son was born, I was dealing with 15,000 people a day, customers, and the flu was coming around, and it was bad flu season, and I fell for it, and I said, well, I think we should get a flu shot because I'm around all these people all the time. We got a newborn at home. I don't want him to get sick. So my wife and I went and got a flu shot. And then directly after that, that's when this happened. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I know that I was physically 100%. I didn't have any problems, any issues at all. I was strong and all that. And, but now all of a sudden I'm paralyzed. What transverse myelitis does is your immune system, when you get sick or something happens, your white blood cells get kicked up. And in transverse myelitis, your blood cells actually attack your spinal cord or something in your body instead of whatever it is, a cold or whatever. And that's what happened. My spinal cord swelled up around C6, C7, T6, T7, thoracic. And that's right here. And it's a solid line all the way around front to back. You touch me on the top, I'm okay. You touch me below that line, nothing. That's just the way it is. And, I lost a lot of function, whatever. It just shuts everything off. It's like, shutting a water hose. That's your spinal cord. Everything below that's not going to go anymore. So, I was getting really worried because, after so much time, they say, if you don't get recovery after a certain amount of time, you're just not going to. I kept reading that, and it scared me to death because I wasn't getting recovery. My brother called, and he was in Ohio, and he said, hey, I've been doing some research online. There's one transverse myelitis department in the United States, and it's at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. And if you want to go, if you can't afford it, we didn't talk much, but he said, if you can't afford it, he said, I'll pay for it, but let's get you there if you want to go. And we did. I got my insurance approved. And I went to Johns Hopkins and I started my treatment. So we went to Johns Hopkins and I met a doctor there, Dr. Douglas Kerr. And the reason there's only one transverse myelitis department in America is because at that time was because his uncle had transverse myelitis. And it really, really devastated him to see his uncle going. He liked his uncle a lot, and it's devastated him to see him going through this. So that's what he did. He started he was already at Johns Hopkins, but he started that transverse myelitis department. He's a stem cell researcher. He's a neurobio, whatever, smart guy. And so anyway, we go down and see him. I was blown away that he spent about 4 hours with me. I couldn't believe a doctor would do that. And he had my family in there, everyone. And by the end of it, and this is all I could do. People can't see it now, but this is all I could do at this point. That's as much as I could get going.
You could move your knees.
Just left and right, just about an inch back and forth. Now, that's as far as progression as I'd gotten in recovery.
But you had gotten that far versus before you couldn't do nothing.
Yeah, but that took a long time.
Right.
So, and again, I don't remember now the specific amount of time where they say if you haven't gotten much recovery after, I think it was a few months, then it's not looking good. And I was getting close. He told me, though, I remember just bawling because he told me, he said, I'm going to get you walking again.
You what?
I'm going to get you walking again. No other doctor that I'd seen in Danville said that. I didn't have that hope. I was going to determine to do it, but to hear a doctor say, I'm going to get you there really, really motivated me. We went to back home and he wrote a prescription for aqua therapy. I had IVIG treatments, which was I'm going to get this wrong, intravenous immunoglobulin treatments. I couldn't take too many of those because the side effects are bad migraine type headaches. And I suffered through that. I got through it, but I didn't like that. He also prescribed once a month, I don't remember how much, about a half a gallon of Solumedrol, which is a very powerful steroid, and it's done as a drip. They would come to my house and, do that because it took about an hour to let it get all through into your system. And all these things, along with hard physical therapy, got me going again. It's hard to exercise when you can't move. Some of the things that the therapist would do would be, by the way, I'm inpatient now. They moved me from one hospital to an inpatient rehab facility, physical rehab. I started swimming there. And that was good because you don't, even though your legs are not working, you could still, and it's good to have that buoyancy, and it's hard, it's easier on your body. It's very good therapy for, someone that's recovering from a paralysis. Let's see.
Hey, Mark. Okay. So just an observation, you walk. Mm-hmm. We've been on the boat with you. We've traveled with you. So when you told me about this transverse I can't even pronounce it. Say it again.
Transverse myelitis.
When you
what
told
that
me,
means, Bob, excuse me, what that means, just for is transverse is across, and myelitis is inflammation. So I have a solid across my spinal cord is the transverse part, and the myelitis is the inflammation where the swelling happened. What it does is your nerves are like wires, like car stereo speaker wires. They got insulation on them. When this thing starts, your blood cells, your white blood cells start attacking your body. They're not going to eat that wire, but what they do is they strip the insulation off the wires. That's what happens. And that's where you run into, some balance issues, some gait, pain, different things, weakness, numbness. I have real bad neuropathy, a lot of tingling and stinging. It feels like bees stinging me sometimes, So.
Okay. So, again, when we were talking about this, you showed me, you sent me a link, and then from there, I was at least able to spell it so I could do my own look-see. You're a because a lot of these people don't ever get out of a chair, let alone a bed. Mm-hmm. And so like I alluded to earlier, it was an eye awakener for me. I'd never heard of this affliction. And so it gave me I think all of us have one time or another had this mad respect for you because you said to me the other night, I'm living my life. And, right. And you know why that really resonated with me. We've had other people on the show that have different afflictions. They've all said the same thing. They're not going to let it slow them down. They don't have the poor me's. You did share that, when this first happened, I think like the stages of grief, the acceptance, or I don't even know what they all are, guys. But, you went through that and it culminated with, hey, I'm going to have a life. But then did you get back into somewhere along the line? You lived a sober life. You didn't conquer the affliction, but you certainly learned to negotiate it. Did you get back into the alcohol realm?
No, that's the crazy thing about this whole deal. I mean, you could tell me it's going to rain today, and that'd be good reason for me to drink, right? Before. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here paralyzed, and I'm pissed off because I'm paralyzed. I'm not thinking about drinking. I don't know what took over there, how that changed, but I didn't drink during the transverse myelitis. I don't know. It was kind of shocking to me. I thought, but I will say this too. It was recovery from alcoholism as far as, just drying out. I won't say I was sober, but, not drinking, is a lot easier was for me because I had a wife at home and a son I had to go home to every day. When they left, I was back alone again. And, that's when, one thing led to another and I started drinking again.
Okay. Obviously I didn't know you during that time. And, for the life of me, Mark, I can't remember where I met you or how. Maybe you can take us down that road. I know it's been many years since we've been, growing on our journeys together. Obviously, this thing we call a tribe, all of us here and a bunch of other guys that aren't here tonight. But I've only known you on your sober journey, and you've had some challenges and what have you. But what were some things that, because like you said, now you're by yourself, you're back in Arkansas at this point, right?
I went out, this is right after she, moved out and my son moved out that, I was drinking. I started drinking again. I was still in Maine.
Oh, still Maine.
And I met you at Ralph's house. And this, this is how I got introduced to you guys was, Ralph, my cousin.
Oh yeah.
Had known Ralph. I'm new back home. I'm in Arkansas again now. Had COVID during the move, drunk, bad shape, not coming in on a white horse, right? But my cousin knew that I was bad shape, and he knew Ralph, so he called Ralph and he said, "Can you go check on him or whatever?" And I think he might have asked me if I wanted Ralph to be my sponsor. I'm like, yeah, sure. Sponsor? Yeah, I think I'll try. And I was so drunk that night when Ralph called. He said, "I'll be there." I don't remember what time. He said, "I'll be there in the morning." I was okay, He came the next morning. I don't even know I didn't know he was there. He came and went. I had no idea he was there. I was just not near ready to start recovery. But I didn't want to do this anymore. I wanted to get some kind of relief. But I called my cousin, said, "Oh, I really messed up. Your friend came over to see me this morning and I just didn't answer the door. I was drunk." "Oh, don't worry about it. It'd be all right." So I had to call Ralph and apologize. We started again and back to that. That's where I met you. It was, Ralph, y'all were doing the meetings at your house and his house, rotating on Sundays, the men's meetings. And, Ralph is, Ralph's Ralph. He's going to say, hey, he's always talking about stay in the herd, the herd mentality. And I wasn't anywhere near being in a herd mentality. I was Mr. Lonely, Mr. Independent, still. But he asked me if I wanted to come to his house that Sunday for a meeting, and that's where I met you and everybody else. Some different faces, but mostly the same.
If anybody's got anything they want to add, please do. I've at this point, though, I have some questions. Okay, so. Yes, I do remember you were introduced to the group, and I do remember you had some difficulties adjusting, not to us, but adjusting to this sobriety journey. Mm-hmm. What would you say were the speed bumps, the hiccups, the things that maybe prevented you from, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna get immersed and do this thing"?
That's an easy one.
Okay.
Mark. I couldn't get out of my own way. I went to, well, y'all know, I mean, hardly ever came to meetings. I didn't want to come to the meetings with y'all. I wanted Ralph to be my sponsor, but I wanted to go to my own meetings somewhere else, I was just totally wrong, and I hadn't had a sponsor before, but I do remember sitting down with Ralph the first time we were at his house, and he's trying to help me out. And he says, he looks at me and he goes, "You ready to go to any length to get sober?" And I knew he saw the look on my face as I said, yeah, he knew that was full of shit. I wasn't. And until you're ready, that's going to be a tall order. You're going to do some heavy pedaling. If you're not ready, that's going to be hard. And that was very hard for me because if you're not ready, I mean, you're going to struggle. That's just my opinion.
You lived it.
I did live it. Yeah. And that's what happened. It's exactly what happened is, you asked what my struggles was me. I went to rehab twice. The second time I went, I went to a place called Blackberry in Florida for 30 days because I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't take the pain anymore. I thought I was going to die. I need to get, I went in there for 30 days, flew to Florida, went down there for 30 days. Didn't make it home without drinking. I think I was drunk on the airplane and probably got drunk on the way home. I would do that going to detoxes. I'd go to detox just to get me out of the pain. I can't take it anymore. Go in there for 3 days. I'd dry up and hell, I wouldn't make it home. That's scary. I say I wouldn't make it home. I would stop and get beer on the way home from detox. That's sick. I'm a sick person, What clicked? I don't know. What was the magic, moment? I don't know. I do know one thing, that no matter what shape I was in, I knew that Alcoholics Anonymous was my only hope. And that's what I continue to do. You keep coming back. I can't tell you how many times I got them silver coins. I got to bring them back. I probably got $1,000 worth of those things, but I wasn't going to quit trying because I didn't have any options. I knew what alcohol, I saw, I've been going to Alcoholics Anonymous since 2000. And although I didn't have a sponsor, I mean, you go to enough meetings, things start to rub off on you and you start to remember things and different things like that. But
again, guys, if you want to jump in, just jump in. But let me ask you, what I've definitely wrapped my brain around your thoughts about a sponsor. And at what point then did you say to yourself, even if you don't know why, we don't always know the mystery answers. What made you go, okay, I'm done. I'm going to do what this sponsor says or recommends or suggests.
Well, I knew if Ralph was going to be my sponsor, I wasn't going to get out of working steps. And as much as I didn't like that, and as much as that made me nervous and afraid, I wasn't going to get around it. And Ralph walked me through the steps. I would go to his house, we'd read, probably every week. And, we did the steps. He would tell me the third step prayer, go home and do that, different things. And, it just started slowly coming together as I was doing the things that he was asking me to do. And I didn't do them all, right off the bat. And I still don't do them all, but I was taking my baby steps. And, after a while, things started getting a little bit better. We went to the 4th and 5th step. We did that as best as I could. Probably going to go back and revisit that again in the future, for whatever reason, things change, whatever. But once I started doing that, and I'll tell you, for me, it wasn't like that moment that, okay, everything's going to be okay. But the big thing for me was doing that 5th step, and getting all that mess out, and I was worried about writing that down on paper and telling another man, my issues, my real issues, and sharing that stuff with him, the judgment and this and that and the other thing. We got done. Ralph shared some stories of his with me that made me feel a lot better. And when we got finished, we go out to his grill and we light the paperwork and we set fire to it and it's gone. And that was spiritual for me. That was big. I mean, that was like, wow, I don't know about you guys, but it was. for me. And those 2 steps really helped me a lot, 4 and 5. So do you have something, so?
Mark, I just want to say, man, I can see it so clearly that God had a plan for you. I mean, with all that's happened to you and all that you come through, and I guess God's got a plan for us all, but sometimes it just comes out, man. And I'm so glad you're a part of our group. So glad you're a friend. And I don't know, it's just, this is what this is all about, this recovery thing. I mean, God does do miracles, and I just believe that we're all a miracle, but man, I can just see it in you. I don't know. Probably can't see it in yourself as much.
No.
But I can see it, man. And I'm just so glad you came to us, and so glad you're a part of our group. And, you know, as you were talking about that 4th and 5th step, I did that same thing at Ralph's house. And it's just I felt like a weight had been lifted off of me. Like,
I think most people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's awesome, you know, and when it clicks, it clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think most of us ever know why we've had enough at that one, you know, what's different about that day than the day before.
Mm-hmm.
But something happens in us. I don't know. I think a switch flipped within me, and I don't think it was me that flipped that switch.
Right.
I think that I've become a big believer in the higher power in God, and I didn't want no part of it when I came in here, but I've drank the Kool-Aid or whatever, and I believe it wholeheartedly now. And I wanted to say that to you.
Well, thank you, Sloan. Since you brought up God, I'd like to talk about that because I grew up, Southern Baptist. My mom made me go to church on Sundays, although they didn't go. I had to ride the church bus up there to Sunday school, whatever. But, I had that in my life in the beginning. I knew the word God, and I'd been to church and this thing, as a little boy. So that was there. And as I started drinking, I started blaming God for everything, and God's the problem. And, there is no God. It got that bad, and then cussing God and all those things. But I think because at least I had that when I was growing up, once I started getting into Alcoholics Anonymous and getting in that recovery, I didn't believe in God at all when I came first to AA at first. That was not. But, I say this a lot, you become a product of your environment in AA if you stick around long enough. And, you start seeing others talk and share, and you start to, and then God starts to become a part in your life again. And there's been some things that's happened to me recently, but even little things that just too coincidental for me now. There's a God. For me, there is a God, and I rely on him. But I also, I believe there's angels, and God uses those angels. There's some guys sitting in here in the room, they're angels, And so, when I pray to God and I believe in God and I trust and rely on God, but I've got another higher power here, on earth that I can see and talk to if I want to. Somebody mentioned a little while ago something, but, the thing that really, this last time that helped me out most was, even though I'd been coming to y'all's meetings for a while, Sunday meetings, and we go to, we go all over the place. Y'all know that. I still didn't feel a part of this group. And I've never told y'all that, but I never felt up until recently like I was in with y'all because of me, really, not because of y'all. It was because of me. I wasn't fitting in, but I don't feel that today. I feel y'all are, this has been great. This has been like a whole other, the tribe, our guys, has been like a whole other program. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not AA what we do. Mm-hmm. It's recovery, but it's men. And I talk to different people. I have people that I talk to, this and that, acquaintances, whatever. But where are you going this Sunday? I've got men's meeting. What do y'all talk about in your business? And but people ask me about that. But those Sunday morning meetings, to me, those are the the easiest ones. They're laid back. They're fun. Not fun, but they're we as men, we can share, and that's important to me now. But I got the best thing I did was because I didn't feel like I fit in with y'all, I wouldn't call you. And I was sitting there going, man, they're not going to pick up the phone. No one's going to pick up the phone and call you, Mark. And if you want to get comfortable with these guys, you better start doing something. that's so, and I started calling. I call Ralph every morning. I say that, I don't want to lie, but probably 99.9% call Ralph every morning. If I don't, I try to tell him I won't, and this is why. But I started picking up the phone and just randomly calling y'all and talking to you. And I said, I don't need anything. I'm just calling because I want to pick up the phone and get practice at that, because I don't, you know, I can handle it. I don't need you. And that's not true. So to get there, I had to put a little more effort in it. And man, that has helped me a lot, because I feel more comfortable with y'all because I talk to you on the phone. It's easy to pick up the phone now. It's a piece of cake, you know, to call y'all and just talk. And that helped me because, you know, if I get a pinch and I need you, I know I can call you. And I have. Bob, you know, I mentioned this Monday. I'll give you some examples. I would leave the Monday meeting. It was dark, right? I was afraid to go home because there's 12 places to get liquor on the way home, you know, and I drive by every one of them. And my truck would, you know, it was autopilot. It would just pull in on its own. But, you know, I remember calling you, or maybe I talked to you at the meeting. I don't remember how it was, but, you know, would you stay on the phone with me until I got home and shut myself in the garage? In the beginning, that's what I had to do. You know, I had to just suffer, you know, just not do anything, just lock myself in until I could get a little bit, you know, further in sobriety and grow. But, you know, I give that example. I've called guys and said, you know, I'm going to be doing this weekend or something. You know, I've got something planned. Can y'all be on? Can you be on call for me? And I always got yes. And I've called them, and it's been great for me. But I've also heard guys tell me that, you know, it's been great for them because they see me suffering and they see what I'm going through, and it reminds them of what they were going through at one time. And I think this is kind of how it works, you know, a part of it. But that's been big for me, is being able to call, you know, you guys and just talk. So.
Let me say something, guys. I grew up in a family that went to church. I knew who God was my whole life, and I got up as a young adult and I did what I wanted to do. And so there was no alcohol in my family, in my neighborhood where I lived or anything. I was not exposed to it all the way through college and all that stuff. But anyway, got to be an adult and started drinking. Well, zip, bam, boom, I became an alcoholic late in life. It's in my genes. I know that. It's in my family. So it came to me. The point I'm coming to is this is a spiritual program. AA is a spiritual program. I see a lot of people come into meetings and they don't know who God is. They don't have any idea who God is. And so they, anyway, after they come a while, next thing you know, they're getting a higher power. And then as they continue to come, eventually they may talk about God. But here's what I know, guys. I know that I am living in recovery today as a result of the help from my God. Mm-hmm. I got you guys I can talk to, but I got God I can talk to every day and every night. I am fully aware of the fact that the most important thing to me is my relationship with my higher power, which is God, then my relationship with AA and you guys, and then my family, even my blood kin is after that. Mm-hmm. So I know as long as I hang on to my connection with my higher power, with God and you guys, and stay in this program, everything's going to be okay. I'm like Mark. I mean, a lot of guys. I'm a lone wolf, man. I've always been a lone wolf. I didn't have a bunch of guys I hung out with my whole young adult life or anything. I spent most of my time with women, and that doesn't always turn out so well.
Tell me about it.
When you hang out with women a bunch, you get what you want from them, but they also get what they want from you. So it's most likely a trade-off. But like I said, most important thing with me today is, of course, I'm the oldest guy in the room. I can see the end of the tunnel from where I'm at. So I know that my relationship with God is the most important thing to me. Then it's AA, then it's you guys, then it's my blood kin. So if anybody's struggling out there, there's somebody you can reach out to. His name is God.
That's a good point, Dwight. And the thing about having somebody you can talk to in the flesh, a lot of people say God with skin on them. Because I hear things from the people that I talk to, from Mark, from all these guys, and hundreds and thousands of others that I've heard over time. That's how I learn how to communicate with God sometimes. It helps me. It helped me learn how to live life. And Mark's learned how to live life in the last few years. Yeah, he drank a few times before he stayed sober, but he never quit coming back. And he kept doing this thing.
That's right.
We don't ever know when it's going to happen. And I think he was growing the whole time. I think that was just part of his recovery. I came in the rooms and I haven't drank since I first came in the rooms. And that's, I'm grateful for that. But I believe since I first came in the rooms, if I ever drank again, I wouldn't make it back. And I believe it as much today as I do that first day. But just because somebody doesn't stay sober doesn't mean they're not learning and growing. As long as they keep coming back and keep trying, they have a chance.
Right.
You never know when that light bulb is going to go off. That last night I drank, there was no reason on God's green earth for me to say I need help, but I did. There were a lot of exciting things going on that night, but, that's a whole different story. My thing is, it's the inability to ask for help that kills more alcoholics than anything else. And that picking up the phone for Mark is that spiritual tool that he works.
Yes.
Better than anybody I've seen, picking up that phone and asking for help. And I believe that's what made the difference in having his last drink. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why, because he asked for help.
And things like that are contagious too, because I know a lot of times Mark calls me during the day and we talk. And as soon as I hang up, I think I'm going to go ahead and scroll through here and just call another alcoholic too while I'm in this mode. Mm-hmm. So Mark, that, you don't realize what you do might, it grows and it's catchy and it really does me a lot of good. Just, we don't usually have some kind of a deep, crazy, it doesn't even necessarily have to be about recovery. Just talk about the weather or whatever, and tell each other a joke. Haha, and just, I don't know. It does me a lot of good. It's one of those tools that it's part of my recovery. And you showed me that. I mean, doing that and that helps. And that hopefully gets me in a place where I do it more. And I'm not nearly as good as you about doing it. There's a lot of room for improvement for me there, but it is catchy and it's really a cool tool that I had at my disposal for several years, and I would not use it because that phone just weighed too much. Couldn't pick it up. Mm-hmm. Or I thought, I'm going to, I think we still have we're still alcoholics. And I think our alcoholism will whisper things in our ear. We'll come up with something. And I would come up with I don't want to bother them. Mm-hmm. They're probably working or they probably got something better going. I'm not going to bother them just to make a phone call to them because I don't have anything specific to say to them. I'm not going to do that. That is a mistake, and there's a lot of little whispers that come across. I've learned to recognize them a lot better in a few years of sobriety now, to when I'm thinking that or that comes, I think, that's my addiction whispering in my ear. And if I listen to it too much, I'm on the backslide. It can happen real easy. So if I'm not engaged in my recovery, man, I don't know where I'd be. I don't want to find out that.
When I lived in Maine, we had this old guy, old timer, Ron. He's passed now, but he was the town drunk. I mean, He was the town drunk for a long time, and he straightened up. He didn't go to rehab. He just started going to AA, and I mean, he was really into it. And he used to say this all the time. And first time he said it, it blew my mind because I thought it was so true. That he said, most people don't ask for help because they're afraid they're going to get it. And that was me. Yeah. I didn't want help. Wow. Most people don't ask because they're afraid they're going to get it. Right. That's just, wow. I didn't know what help. I didn't know what help was. I just wanted it to go away. That's the help I wanted.
Right.
I didn't know help meant, you have to do steps and you have to go to meetings and make coffee and whatever, but yeah, that was me. I wanted to get sober. I wanted to not drink, but I didn't want to do anything at all to help that. I just wanted it to go away.
There are a couple of things y'all said that I wanted to touch on. Brett recently, y'all have heard Brett on previous shows here. So Brett turned me on to Father Martin. Have y'all watched that guy?
I have.
You haven't? Remind me later. I'll send you a link to one of his shows. So I really like what he said on this because I struggled with the whole God thing coming in for a lot of the very same reasons that y'all have said and that we've all heard before. And he said something I thought was pretty poignant, and I'm okay with it. He said, I take offense to saying, the doorknob is your higher power. And he gave some others. Coffee cup is your higher. He said, because, the alcoholic can come right back and say, well, I got a doorknob and I got a cup at home. He said, but what you don't have at home and you do have in the fellowship is a group of drunks. And that could be your GOD. And I like that. Because first of all, I identified with it when I came in and people talked about higher power. I just thought that was a bunch of baloney. I mean, really whatever. But I had heard make this group, your higher power, and I thought that was kind of silly too. But everybody seemed to be harping on you got to have a higher power. Okay, you know what? Then I'll let this group be my higher power, whatever. Now I want to caveat to something else you said with that point. We don't know when it clicks, like the guys have said, Mark, you kept coming back. You kept coming back. You had your experimental trials, but you kept coming back. And I can identify with that because I'm one of those guys too. I wasn't a first time take. All right. I don't know when it clicked, but I know that it would never have clicked if I didn't keep coming back.
Right.
And so even though I would come and I was shy about picking up the phone, I definitely wasn't going to get a sponsor. You can have those steps. You can do whatever. I don't want any of that. But what kept me coming back was somebody saying, keep coming back. And I never really thought about that on all the episodes that we've put out there already. I never really thought how strong those words were. Keep coming back. And of course, I've referred to Jerry, old Jerry. I miss him. I love him. I know he's in a better place. But he used to just say, don't drink, go to meetings. Remember that, Dwight?
Yes.
Don't drink, go to meetings. And I thought, you are such a parroted, broken record. But that's the magic. Mm-hmm. And somewhere in that don't drink, go to meetings, or even if you just go to meetings, pretty soon maybe we stop drinking. And then maybe we hear enough, and one day we start working the program. And then there's two things I can say never about. And y'all heard me say this before. Always and never are two just dangerous words. I have never seen a man or a woman make it in this program. Never seen them make it if they don't come back. For some reason, it's easy math. And for everybody that's ever come to the meetings and keeps coming, I've always, somewhere along the line, seen it click for them. I don't know when it'll happen. Everybody's on their own journey. Sloan, you said something earlier that you don't think you did it yourself. Well, you made the choice to come. Yeah. And we all made the choice to come. But where that click happens, I don't know. And boy, I wished it would pop up just like a sign would pop up and say, don't cross this. Don't stop. You're about to become an alcoholic. That doesn't happen. It's never happened. So I don't know a lot of the mysteries, but I know the answers. I don't have to know the mysteries. All I got to know is that I need my God. And I don't think I could say it any better than you did, Dwight. There's a pecking order, and I've got to have God first, and other things fall into place. But I know that if I don't have a network, a tribe, I might be sober. I might have my family, but I'm alone.
That's right.
And, I'm not alone when I get a phone call from you, Mark, or Sloan, Ralph, you, Dwight, one of the other fellas, just a random call. Yo, what's up? Hey, we're going over here tomorrow night. You're going, right? I mean, how do you say no? And, yeah, I'm going because I want to go. But there was a time when it was a trial. Like, oh, God, are they going to be judging me? They're going to be looking at me. What are they going to say? We don't even think that way anymore. I mean, it's just like if somebody's missing, Mark, Sunday, you had some other things you had to do. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have known that. All I know is that you weren't at the group, right? Mm-hmm. I called you, and then after we chatted, during the chat, I was like, oh, hell, that was That was a legit reason. Okay, cool. But I shared with you, I was concerned, and then, same thing happens when I'm not at a meeting. One of the guys, other guys might have known, but that one guy didn't. And he's like, hey, I didn't see it, man. Dude, I'm so sorry. You didn't get the word. I am on, the road. I'm going here. But people looking out for each other like we do, that's so freaking key. I mean, just key. All right. So I want to transition into a toolbox here, guys. That's one of the biggest takeaways from Shout Out from the Pit is us talking about toolbox and free flowing on it. So I don't care which one of y'all jump in, but we've already talked about the guys, the tribe. We've talked about God. What's for our folks out there listening? Maybe they're subscribers, maybe they're first timers. What's a random tool that jumps in your head you'd like to share with folks?
Oh. First one we've already talked about was Mark picking up the phone and calling, picking up that 500-pound phone. But they develop over time. I didn't even know what a spiritual tool was for a long time, and then I started realizing, it's saying the serenity prayer all the time. Those first 30 days is all I do is pace the floor and say the serenity prayer because that's all I could do. Then I listened to a little old man from Benton say, I make my bed every morning whether my wife's in it or not. I listened to him say that for a year, and I started saying, maybe I ought to start making my bed. I make my bed every morning. All three of my wives are gone, but I still make my bed every morning. I ask God to help me stay sober every day. I don't ask him to keep me sober. I ask him to help me because I got to do my part. These are things that just develop over time. And it was a few years ago, I used to ask God to come walk with me every day. Then it dawned on me, why in the world does God want to walk with me? Show me how to walk with you every day. And it's just a different way of looking at it. And tools just develop over time, or they have for me, and they continue. Different tools, and sometimes I don't even realize I'm doing them until after I've been doing them a while. Oh, wow. Or I'll read about it or hear somebody else talk about it. Oh, I've been doing that, It just works. If you go about the business staying sober, and these things just come about. Life develops. We learn how to live life.
I tell you one that I have for maybe the newcomer is meet people. Go into a meeting early and just start shaking hands. You'll meet some of the best people in AA meetings. And the reason I say that is because I'm so bad about it. The first time I tried AA, I was one of those people that came in after the meeting had already started and sat on the back row. I didn't want to meet anyone, and I would duck out as soon as that prayer was said. I was out. I didn't want to make eye contact with anybody. I didn't want anybody to ask me anything, and I didn't get near out of AA what it had to offer. The second time around, I was kind of brought in by my mentor, Bob, and he already knew some people, so he introduced me to some people, and I started going to that Sunday meeting at Rouse and started meeting some people and instantly, I asked him to be my sponsor pretty early on, and he said, all right, what are you doing tomorrow night? And I was like, oh no, what have I gotten myself into? But we went to a treatment center, and I thought he was going to have me checked in when we went, but he got me into, probably should have, got me into doing service work and got me into doing this stuff. And if I wouldn't have been willing to meet people when I first came in, that none of that stuff would have blossomed like that. So that's a spiritual tool in and of itself, is to get to know people, get phone numbers. Don't be scared to call them. That's what this thing is all about. And I'm so glad that when I look back on how my journey started in the very first, I believe that a lot of that was God directed stuff. And I didn't believe it at the time. I would have told you that was nonsense if you would have told me that God is kind of nudging you toward this person and putting people in your lives. And I would have said, oh, come on. That's, but now looking back on it, it's clear as a bell. And I don't know. I think when you want it and you're willing to do some work for it, it's there for you. And that's what I would tell the newcomer. You don't have to keep, if you're stuck in that rut and you're miserable, you don't have to keep living that way. There is a solution.
That's very good, Sloan. I like that. I like what you said. I like what you said about the, try to remember that I still hated AA when I moved to Maine. Okay, because I got sick and I was, we decided to move back to Maine because, we need someone to help us out, to be honest with you. And her family was up there. And so that's what we did. But, I didn't really start liking to go to, I went, but I really started liking, I met a guy, y'all know I like to fish and like to be on boats. Anybody ever heard of Guy Harvey? I walked into this meeting in Maine and there's a guy, a painter there. His name was Mark L. He had paint all over him in his hair. He's big mess, but he had a Guy Harvey t-shirt. He was a painter. He had a Guy Harvey t-shirt on. He had the paint fatigues and everything, He was wearing a Guy Harvey t-shirt, and Guy Harvey's a Florida, fishing name. Everybody's familiar with it. So right off the bat, I want to talk to him. And that's that little magic. That was my home group right there, because he was standing there greeting and right there, just that little thing, And you mentioned a little while ago, I don't remember specifically what you were talking about, but there's so many little things in here that are just, you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, you expect to, hopefully get sober and this and that and the other thing. You can't come here enough. I mean, there's always going to be some little twist. You go, wow, this thing never stops getting better. That's for me. I might hear the same thing 1,000 times. Same words, same person saying it, different people saying it, whatever. 10 years later, that might click to me. Oh, that's what that means. Mm-hmm. And it never ends. For me, it never ends. There's always something new that go, wow, that's what they're talking about. Ralph, you've been around for a day or two. Does that still happen to you?
Yes, it does. It needs to happen a lot more than it does. Yeah, well, go ahead.
We call it coincidences. God puts the right people across our path if we just paying attention at all. He's going to put the right people in our path. It's up to us to kind of wake up and realize that, hey, what's really going on. Mark mentioned something about angels. Yeah, I definitely think that, God, man, I used to ride my motorcycle, like a maniac and everything. I could have been killed over and over and over. Why wouldn't I? Because God had something else for me. He didn't intend for me to die out there in the road on a motorcycle or in a race car. So anyway, you guys know that you guys have Sunday morning meetings. I am able to attend some of them, but first and foremost, I'm going to go to church because that's highly important to me. My relationship with my higher power is very, very important to me. I mean, it's right there, and then it's AA. So I don't want to sound like a Bible thumper with you guys, but I go to church with Bob some, and when time's right, him and Sloan. And so anybody out there that's searching for something meaningful, consider going to where God is. Go to church.
Amen, brother.
The whole thing's about seeking God. Tells us over and over, and God could and would if He were sought through prayer and meditation. That's the one thing they tell me I can do all I want to of, and that's the one thing I don't want to do all I want to of. Kind of ironic, but you can't overseek God. And if you do, these coincidences, they're not coincidences. That's God doing for us what we can't do for ourselves.
Right on.
I'd like to, I was just sitting here listening to y'all. I just thought to throw this in there and share real quick. I mentioned earlier that it would, if it was going to rain this afternoon, that'd be a good reason for me to drink, that back in the day, that's what it was. But, you do grow and I see it because I'll give you all an example. I mentioned this a little bit, to some of you, but it wasn't 2 or 3 months ago, maybe more than that, Ralph. Ralph knows about it. I had something very serious happen that scared the living fool out of me. And it was crazy because, like I said, I would drink over rain before, but this was really serious. And I said, okay, you're not going to die. No one's going to eat you. It's not that serious, but how do you handle it? And I handled it because what I did was, what do they tell me to do? Talk to my sponsor about it. I talked to some of you about it. I prayed about it. I didn't fall apart. I didn't say, holy shit, I can't handle this. I didn't drink over it. And Ralph knows this story, but, one day at a time, was working my way through it. And all of a sudden, a complete turnaround happened where it was incredible news. had been gifted to me about this. And, but what I did when I was like, okay, you were down in the dumps, but you didn't get down in the dumps. You stayed okay. Now some great news has happened. Are you going to go way up here? No, I want to stay right where I'm at. I don't want to go up high now because things turn my way. I want to stay right where I'm at because it can drop. My point is, without getting specific about what the situation was, it was financial and it was serious. I did what I was supposed to do, what AA has taught me to do. Instead of doing what Mark wants to do at this time, use the things that people have, told you to do. Call your sponsor, talk about it. Before I would have just said, I probably would have drank, or I would have just, I'll handle it. And I hated it. And I was gut wrenched over the whole thing. And, the sky's falling. But I didn't do that. I did what I was supposed to do. And the outcome was different. It was really good. And that's not always going to happen. It's not always going to be good. But if you do the right thing, you do what you're supposed to when things like that happen, I think you minimize a lot of the downfall, the bad things that can happen. That's all.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I'm trying to imagine, because, we've been sober for a minute, right? And we've got various tools in our box. I'm trying to imagine what it's like to be out there listening to this show right now, listening to, the I don't know how many episodes we have out, 30 or something like that. And, somebody listening to this going, you just don't get it. You're not in my situation. You can't get me, guys. Well, you know what? Maybe we can't, because everybody's got their own worst horror story. Everybody. And if I were, it's so easy to say, it's easy to say. If I were you out there listening to this show, I would put some confidence that you've got 5 guys right now talking to you, telling you we have been through some crap, maybe not your crap, but none of the 5 guys in here have been through the same crap. It's all different. So whatever your crap is out there, it's your crap, but there are tools to help you. And we're here for that. We've got a pretty large group of guys that get together. We visit other groups that have groups of guys in it, and gals. I'm not trying to discount women. We do shows with women, guys. So it's not a He-Man woman hater club or anything like that. It's just tonight's with the guys. My point is this. You'll hear us say it. It's on our website. You are not alone. If there's something holding you back, then I would just encourage you to pick up the phone, go to the website, shoutoutfromthepit.com. There's a message board. One of us will get back to you. We don't have any issues with that. If you're a human being and you're struggling, we get that. We've been through that. And I hate it for you. I hated it for me. I praise God, I was able to do something about it. So you're not alone. We'll be there for you. Let me hit this God thing for a sec. We talk about God on every single episode. We don't shy from it. There's a reason for it. Now, the funny thing about God, in some circles, in some countries, if you don't get on board with God, they're going to whack you. Like, who put the whack on Elmo, right? If you do get on board with God, you're going to get whacked. God is a very interesting subject across the world. All we do here is encourage you to find the God of your understanding. You don't have to believe like I do or like some of the other guys. And our tribe has got a very mixed group of guys in it. We don't all subscribe the same way. And we know other guys that are absolutely sober, absolutely having a wonderful life, and they've got a God of their understanding that is not the God of my understanding. And I don't care. In this journey that we're on, all we want you to do is, first of all, to be sober. And second to that is to be happy. There's nothing like being an unhappy, sober individual. I mean, really, if I was going to just be unhappy all the time, I might as well just go drink. Mm-hmm. I wanted the insanity to go away, just like my friends here, and have a happy life. And I know you guys personally, and I know every one of you are having a happy life. But I also know that none of us walked into this program sober and happy. None of us. It came. And Ralph, every time you talk about that little man from Benton, just to be clear, I have to thank you very much. And I'm being facetious. I have to make my bed every day now.
Good for you.
Yeah, whatever. And every time I make that bed, I say to myself, whether, my babe's in it or not, I'm making the bed, it's just like, it's almost a joke, but it's funny how, as an example, we talked about this just earlier on the show, when you hear something long enough, somewhere along the line, it's going to stick. But in order for you to hear it a lot, what do y'all have to do?
Show up.
Keep coming back.
That's right.
Bob, is it okay to add to that?
Absolutely.
Well, you come into meetings, I'm just trying to think of somebody that might be out there struggling and see if I could say something that might help is, I had no hope. It's funny. We have the hope group now, but that's where we go.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Big plug, shameless plug for our home group.
Hope group. But man, when you're really drinking and you're struggling and you're scared, you don't have hope. And it goes back to just like that, that doctor, Dr. Kerr down in Johns Hopkins, when he told me, I'm going to do what I can to get you. I believe I can get you walking. That's my guy now. He gave me hope. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous will do to anybody that's out there struggling that may be listening, or whatever. I had no hope, zero. I just kind of threw myself in and said, I'm going to rehab. That's how I got introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous. Best thing, no question, that has ever happened in my life. Even if I've struggled, I've gone back out, whatever, I have learned more about how to live life and how to just learn how to be in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'll never quit coming, no matter what. I mean, I know that this is where I need to be. Even if I, God forbid, go back out, whatever. I know where I need to be. I know where the answer is for me. And I know Alcoholics Anonymous says, we don't own the rights to sobriety. People can go to church and get sober. There's all kinds of ways. We don't claim to have the only way. But for me, for Mark, Alcoholics Anonymous is the only thing that worked. And it's the only thing that gave me hope. When I've got hope, man, that's big. That was big for me. And that's what Alcoholics Anonymous did in the beginning, was give me hope. Coming into the meeting and hearing somebody say something that I go, damn, that guy knows, he knows exactly how I feel. And until I got there, no one knew how I felt. I was the only one carrying all this stuff around. I didn't know anybody had similar problems that I do. You come into Alcoholics Anonymous. Here's one thing I like about AA. Come to meetings and I sit and watch heads bob. That's big to me, because people are like, okay, I know what he's talking about. I get it. And when I see heads bob, mine does it. I know just what he's talking about, the pain he's going through or the happiness or whatever it is. I'm nodding my head because I've been there. And that's what you get when you come to AA. You find out that you're not the only one with problems, and other people have had problems, but we're all they're really here to help you out, to get sober. And I'll say this, you mentioned, keep coming back, keep coming back. Hear people say that. I know that as much as I struggled and went back out, they wanted me back so they could hear my pain.
Oh, gosh.
And that's okay.
You're keeping it green for us.
That's okay. I believe that. I believe, that's the thing about, to me, Alcoholics Anonymous is so many more than one perspective of it. I'm coming back because I need to come back to get sober, but I'm also helping other people back when I'm dragging my butt in and I look like I've been in a fist fight for 2 weeks, and I'm going to, walk up and get that coin again, the embarrassment and the shame of that. Everybody's watching that and they're going, I don't want to do that again.
That's a good point.
That's just how I see it. I may not be right, but that's just how I see it. But I know Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life and it gave me hope. So if somebody's out there that doesn't have hope or feels that way, try AA.
Mark, I would say you're partially right. We definitely don't want to have to get a new chip again. However, when I say partially, it's because we're all applauding. Thank God, that brother's back on track. And that's always a thank God. It's like, I hadn't been to a church in a while, walk in and everybody, wrapping their arms around me saying, hey, welcome back, like the prodigal son or something, We have grace and we focus on the grace. We don't focus on the shame,
You're right, Bob. I agree with you 100%. I guess I kind of meant that a little bit of tongue in cheek, but it is, it is powerful when you're sober. I'd see people, if I had 10 years of sobriety, I'd see people coming in and they look like I did. And I don't want to go back there again. So I need that reminder. And that's one of the reasons you keep coming back is you got to be reminded. I do, because I've got to, I forget quick.
We've got built-in forgetters, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Any last open mic thoughts, guys, before we wrap up? Well, that's it, folks. And, Sloan, Ralph, Mark, Dwight, God bless you guys. I'm so grateful to be part of, your lives and you being part of my life. I love the life I have today. I don't start my day off without thanking God. And in my gratitude list, y'all are on it. It's the best I ever lived. All right. So thanks for listening, folks. And please, share our show with folks that could use some encouragement and extra tools for their recovery journey. And be sure to subscribe at shoutoutfromthepit.com for future episodes. And like Ralph would say, it's for free and for fun. Remember, you are not alone. And if no one's told you they love you today, like I say, I used to hate this line, we love you.
Love you.
I'm Bob the Old Rucker, praying you're having an outstanding American day. So God bless you and peace out.